The one thing I will say that the past 50 years has given me is I would say that nothing in this world works the way you think it does. Nothing. Governments do not operate the way you think they do. Banks do not do what you think they do. The police department is not here for what you think it is. Nothing in your world works the way you think it does. There's a far higher, bigger picture going on the earth for at least 7,000 years of human history that we modern day people really just don't relate to. All we know is what we live with today, but never suspecting that the institutions of power, banking, education, the military-industrial complex of the world has taken hundreds of years to develop. And over these last hundreds of years, great governments have come into being. Our great country of America, the United States of America, which was the first time on the history of the earth that a people rose up to demand their freedom and impacted the whole world.
And those ideas deserve to be protected. Those words were, of course, from Jordan Maxwell, an absolute pioneer when it came to the occult and secret information which he provided to the general public for decades. He will be sorely missed, as of course we just got the news, and there's reports of him passing away yesterday. The video that we played was from an interview that he did with Jason Burmis. The full interview is going to be available down in the description below, where you could watch the full video with Jordan Maxwell. Welcome back, beautiful and amazing human beings. This is Ogrodowski here of WeAreChange.org. A lot of crazy news to get into today, as it looks like there might be some members of the Pentagon dropping stories to the corporate media in order to try to de-escalate this very tense situation between the United States and Russia. This, as some elements of the U.S. government literally are preparing for the worst case scenario. What's happening here? Well, we're going to be talking about that, plus a lot more, as we also have some very interesting comments from the head of BlackRock. And there's so much news to get into, we're just going to jump right into it, as of course it's not only a physical conflict that we should be worried about, as today we are finding out that microplastics are being found in human blood for the first time ever, as some scientists are warning that microplastic particles are traveling and could be lodged in people's organs. This, as already 77.2% of random adults are found to be contaminated, according to the latest research coming from the Netherlands, as they studied 22 random anonymous healthy individuals. And of course, their findings in 17 of them are extremely concerning. Terrifying, scary news that of course could have larger implications to the huge increase of cancer, to the huge increase of infertility, to the massive decline of people's reproductive organs. But no, we don't get to have that kind of discussion or debate, which we should. We are now talking about what makes a man and a woman a woman. Yes, the conversation in the United States is now centered on the latest controversy from the Biden Supreme Court pick that announced that she is not a biologist when she was asked by a U.S. senator to define the word woman. What makes a man, a woman a woman? Well, who knows nowadays, especially with big tech censorship, as of course if you even try to have this discussion, you will be targeted, attacked, censored, banned, deplatformed from even participating in this discussion or even dare to make a joke about it, as of course this conversation is silly. It's ridiculous in the first place. We should be able to laugh at it. We should be able to have some comedy and satire to alleviate the seriousness of this ridiculous situation. But the Babylon Bee has been taken off Twitter for doing so. Just moments ago, their appeal was turned down by Twitter, that decided that they will not overturn their decision to censor a satirical comedy website for trying to make people laugh during this situation. Charlie Kirk, a right-wing commentator, was also suspended on Twitter for raising his particular point of view and opinion on this perspective. And then Tucker Carlson, that commented on the Babylon Bee and Charlie Kirk, also had his tweet censored from the general public, from the national discourse. And we can't even have a real discussion about this on this platform. That's why, once again, I created LukeUncensored.com, where we get to say and do whatever we want, talk about whatever issue we want to discuss, show whatever videos we want, all, of course, on our own platform. 50 cents a day allows you to be a member, gives you 3 masterclasses about apocalypse survival, expatting, traveling, having your voice heard online, exclusive merchandise, exclusive events. We're starting a forum soon. This is our own private club where we get to say and do whatever we want. Today we're going to be doing yet another video later on today about all the topics that we cannot discuss here on this platform. I hope to see you there and to have you join us for this very important conversation, all exclusively later on today. LukeUncensored.com. Click the link to find out more right now. Now, as we've been telling you and warning you about for a very long time, the times that we are living in right now are very tumultuous, and they will get a lot more tumultuous and crazy from here on out. This, of course, is true as the ingredients that make our life crazy and tumultuous are only being added on, and very rarely are they taken out of the equation. Very rarely is there de-escalation or even talking points trying to provide some sense into the people who are creating the madness in this world. But there is a rare incident where this happened that was put together by Consortium News that wrote a very interesting article that's titled "Pentagon Drops Truth Bombs to Starve Off War with Russia." A very interesting article that highlights 2 stories, one from Newsweek.com, another one from US News, that both reference 2 anonymous Pentagon sources that have exposed a lot of the heated rhetoric and escalations that has been happening predominantly throughout the corporate media, as we have seen a disruption to the official narrative with these 2 major bombshell stories. Now, this Newsweek article is very interesting, and I'll start off with it as it's titled, "Putin's Bombers Could Devastate Ukraine, but He's Holding Back. Here's Why." As the article details how the United States dropped more bombs in the first day of the Iraq War in 2003 than Russia did throughout this entire saga, saying specifically that this is far lower than what Russia is capable of doing, and that Putin's strategy here is to not intentionally attack citizens, but to, quote, "Perhaps he is mindful that he needs to limit damage in order to leave an out for negotiation." And this is not me saying it, this is literally Newsweek. As, of course, the Pentagon has been releasing information that Russia's war in Ukraine is a methodical one that, of course, encircles cities, opens up humanitarian corridors, leaves a lot of civilian infrastructure open while trying to avoid civilian casualties. The second article by US News was also very telling, as, of course, the President of the United States, along with the President of Poland, have been saying that if there is a chemical weapons attack inside of Ukraine, this means that NATO will be involved in this conflict. This, as an anonymous Pentagon source on US News, says specifically that there is, quote, "no indication that there's something imminent in that regard right now." Now, these 2 articles from anonymous Pentagon sources are definitely a rift compared to the official narrative and dialogue that we have been hearing. Is this a larger symbol of a larger conflict happening within the US State Department and Congress versus the Pentagon? Well, it's definitely worth thinking about. As, of course, the conflict gets very serious inside of Ukraine, especially in Mariupol, where, of course, the Russians have surrounded this key city that they hope to get control of, allowed a civilian corridor, and now has begun shelling and bombing it, as there's reports and videos of Chechens already taking control of parts of the city. And if there's one thing that's pretty clear here is that this conflict is escalating towards a crazy situation where, of course, the United States government is officially preparing for the worst, as we have this USA Today article that is talking about how the United States is ramping up its nuclear weapons capabilities and missions in Los Alamos Laboratory in New Mexico. The New York Times wrote about how the U.S. is making contingency plans in case Russia uses its, quote, most powerful weapons. Are those weapons nuclear weapons? Well, I would even go even further and say that there's probably new technology that we are not aware of that are far more superior and devastating than just nuclear weapons. But of course, the battle lines have been drawn. The escalations are clear. NATO even just doubled their battle groups in Eastern Europe on the Russian border, as they have also issued a full statement laying out their defensive readiness against Russia, while of course making some very strong threats against China. The United States has also been making threats against China from entering this conflict. We are hearing allegations that they are, quote, quietly buying cheap Russian crude, of course helping Russia in doing so. India is also buying it as well, as now Russia is demanding that Europe and other hostile countries, 48 of them that they have listed, pay for their gas in rubles. Again, Europe gets 40% of its gas from Russia. That's almost 200 to 800 million euros per day. This is Putin's way of answering back against sanctions, specifically telling Europe and a lot of the countries, pay us in rubles, invest in our country, or you could freeze and not have energy. This, of course, is creating a massive disruption on the world stage, and that's going to be one of many, as of course Ukraine is a major exporter of grain. This will significantly impact Africa, the Middle East, and also the Western world, especially with a food crisis that's expected to get a lot worse. Russia is a major exporter of fertilizer. Expect that situation also to get very hairy, as our food supply is in question here. And we're dealing with a very serious situation, as even BlackRock's Larry Fink came out and said that the Russian-Ukraine war is a, quote, end to globalization. Now, of course, his comments are very agenda-driven towards, of course, his own personal benefit. BlackRock, of course, has a very shady reputation, and whenever they make statements to the media, they should, of course, be highly scrutinized and questioned towards what they are trying to achieve with these kind of statements. Now, of course, there's going to be a global disruption of trade, of food, of energy, and that, of course, is worth noting. A lot of countries are going to be looking for insular resistance towards this if they are smart. A lot of countries aren't. A lot of countries like the United States are still depending on China for almost virtually every single thing that we have to import from them, that they produce, that they make. Our important computer chips are made in Taiwan, another very dangerous geopolitical area, as of course the situation is getting very serious, and it's probably going to get a lot more serious. Some would say that there's going to be a great reset. There's going to be an opportunity to build back better from. Some people are saying that the UN Agenda 2030 is going to be implemented. Some people say it's maybe a new world order, but don't be a crazy conspiracy theorist, because that's all, according to the mainstream media, just fairy tale, not believe land, not true at all. I hoped I broke down the news to you in a way where you were able to simply understand it and get a perspective that, of course, you didn't on the corporate media. If you thought I did this job, share this video with your friends and family members. It is more important than ever. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. I got one more video coming your way on LukeUncensored.com, and if you want to continue this specific discussion on this topic, I did a very good video about this that you could click on right here and then learn more about it, and you could continue watching our videos. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you, and this is why I love you guys. Stay tuned for more here on wearechange.org.